Okay, Nana, 20 things.
Okay, big nose, perfect lips, a smile. I have a good smile. Wide feet. Not very tall. I'm not very tall. I'm only 5'4". I'm friendly. I'm outgoing. I'm curious about other people. I'm non-judgmental. I don't think I judge people until they offend me. I mean, when I first meet someone and I go to the door, I accept them for whoever they are. Doesn't matter what color they are or anything. I'm nice to them. I will be nice to them. But then, you know, if they do things that hurt me, then I wouldn't be as friendly, which is not compassionate. I learned that today. We have to be compassionate to everybody. That's how Christ is. Anyway, I'm sometimes very direct.
Most times.
I'm thrifty. I'm serious about important matters. And important matters are things like fidelity. Let me see. I love working in the outdoors. I have broad shoulders. I like studying the scriptures. I have attended the temple. I must agree that sometimes that's a little hard.
That's another one of our goals when we first got married. To
Yes.
be temple attending all the time.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Yes.
Go to it as often as we could. So one time in New Zealand, it was once a year. It's not very often, but when we got there,
go for a week.
we went there for a week, and
Yeah.
we did 6 or 8 sessions a day. So
Yeah.
wow.
On Friday.
Make up for it.
Yeah, there was one day in the week that they had the temple open 24 hours, and so we would be there for that time too. I don't have anything else. I have 16 listed, but that's all I could think about right now. What else about me? Other than my big nose and perfect lips.
She snores.
Um,
I'm gonna tell the truth about you. Yeah, you're tight, all right, with money sometimes, especially when I'm trying to spend it. But when she's trying to spend it, this is another story.
I know,
But they're not real big. So.
But I do spend it on.
And she gives to others. Okay, she'll think of everybody else before she thinks of her.
Yeah, in our family.
When you're going to spend, now it doesn't have to be family members.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Like at Christmas time, you make all these little goodies, and none of them are for us. It's for everybody else.
Not just on big occasions like Christmas. Often.
Oh, one of the really great people I know too is his sister. I mean, she's really, really a special person. She gives a lot. She's very much like Sister Madsen.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, almost in every ward there's a family or especially a sister that is just always giving and giving and giving. And his sister is one of those.
Mm.
Yeah.
If you haven't got it, don't spend it.
Yeah.
If you can save it, you don't spend it either. So we didn't do very good at saving money when we were raising the kids. It was too tight.
Mm.
Here's one experience we've had. And I can't give you the year, but the kids are middle, not little kids, they're middle. said 6 or 7 or something like that. Okay, we had an insurance policy, health insurance policy, and the state comes along and says, hey, we want to buy a church farm so we can raise cattle on it. The church has asked us to contribute to the welfare system, and we're going to do that. But we need everybody in the state to contribute. We can't do it on what we have. So they actually gave us a dollar amount, didn't they?
Yes,
How much was it? Do you remember?
1,200.
$1,200, $1,000. Great. So we said, okay, hey, we've got this insurance policy, and we don't really want it. It's not very good. So we see if we can sell it. And we sold it and gave the proceeds to that fund. It was exactly an even trade-off, wasn't it?
No,
No?
we had to give a little bit more
Okay.
than what we had, but we were able to meet our quota.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that, though, years later, the state decides they're going to sell it. They're going to sell the farm because it wasn't doing what they had hoped it would do. So they sold the farm, and I said to him,
Get my
"Where's
money
our
back now?"
money? Where's our money? It was terrible. And it hadn't, it didn't really click in my head until after one mission, and we came back and I had to teach this gospel doctrine class in the Tongan ward, and I had to teach the lesson on the law of consecration. And that's where I learned that, all this money was Heavenly Father's and we have no right to ask for it back.
Oh, I thought that was
That's
a great blessing at the time. They
Yes.
just had exactly what they needed, so yeah, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written something over here.
Yeah, please.
It's about money. Let me see.
Oh yes.
Um,
I'm gonna move this over.
It's not what you make, but what you keep that determines financial success. Pay yourself first, save, and save what you pay yourself.
Mm.
If you pay yourself first, and make sure you don't spend it. You just keep it and hold on to it, because that's what you'll have when you're not working anymore.
Mm.
Famous person?
Famous person.
Abe Lincoln.
Okay. Why?
Because he's funny,
Uh-huh.
he's intelligent, and it'd be exciting. And he's, what's the word I wanted to say on top of that? Integrity.
Mm.
So he's not going to blow smoke.
Yeah.
I don't know if this person is famous. I thought about a movie star, but
That's great.
Well,
there's a movie star that I really like. He's young, and I would like to spend the day with him, teaching him about the gospel.
so who is it?
If he'd let me. Matt Lanter.
Who?
Matt Lanter. He's about 40 now, but he plays a young person in Timeless, their series, and there's Timeless and 90210. Anyway, I just kind of like him. He's a movie star, but he's worth only about $4 million.
That all.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean that all, but he's not like a great big blockbuster movie star.
Mm.
And I know he's Christian, but I've watched his wife's podcasts as well, and they have a baby, and I would just like to teach them the gospel.
I love it.
Because I think they'd make good for a family.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Buffett. and I would get him to teach me all about how to invest money and how to take care of money. And I'd like to drive in his old car and be, and see his house, because he's lived in the same house for 45 years.
Wow.
He's 80 something now, 82, I think, but he's just been very, very careful about how he has spent money. I'd like to learn all about how to invest and, learn all the stuff that he knows, because he's a billionaire now.
Mm.
Standing in front of people. Period.
Mm. When you have to talk.
Yeah, so I can stand in front of people if I just have to,
Yeah.
act like the wall, no problem. Yeah.
This is really honest.
I have trouble in the temple every week
Mm.
when I have to speak.
Missing my
So
pen.
initiatories are very difficult,
Mm.
even when you know what you're supposed to say.
It is hard. Me, missing my pants in the temple.
Shoot.
Wait, what?
Oh, don't repeat that, please.
Please.
No. You said it. That's good. It's on tape. Don't repeat.
Well, it's true.
She's an
I
old
always.
lady. She's a queer. There's an edit for you.
Never. What happened?
She's very
We
irregular.
need to know the story.
There's no story.
Well, I have to wear diapers,
Oh, okay.
because I'm incontinent,
Yeah.
and that's both ends. Both ends, but.
You're so funny.
And so I always have to take an extra diaper wherever I go. And I make sure that the toilets are where
Where are they for being?
I always have to be aware where the toilet can be,
Just to get there quick.
yeah, so I can get
Well,
there
she has to
quickly.
think about it, and she's in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get much warning
Mm.
at all. I stand up and the water goes. But, a diaper that absorbs it.
Yeah.
The ones that I have absorbing it. But the other end, there's like.
That would be scary. Gotta
So,
have that.
yeah, that really does scare me.
Yep.
And the other thing would be not to make it in the celestial kingdom. That would scare me. I mean, I want to be there really bad. I was thinking about that today while in sacrament meeting, and if I stood up and bore my testimony, I would have said, wow. You know why? Because there were so many kids, young kids, that went up and bore their testimonies, and very few had help from their parents.
5 and 6 year olds.
Yeah, 5 and 6. Yeah, I mean, it was just a wow.
Only one Aaronic priesthood holder did it.
Yes,
So that's in comparison.
I know. And then there were brothers and sisters, but I thought that was really well. And then, of course, the primary president bore her testimony, and just judging from what her testimony was like, that's why those children are just so, and their parents, they're just so onto it.
I love that.
The only thing I could think of is when the Savior appeared to the Nephites and gathered the children around, and the angels came down. That was a wow moment.
Absolutely.
A very big one. And it has to do with my testimony. And also, of course, the appearance of the Father and the Son to Joseph Smith. It affected me the same way. It's when the Spirit touches you and says, well, okay, I hear you. Going fishing, did you say anything?
Type of fishing? Talk about it. What do you like about fishing?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, you gotta catch fish. You have to catch fish. Yeah, what I like is to be able to take fish home and provide for my family, which is only the two of us now, but if I was able to go out and hunt for deer, it'd be the same thing. So, of course, I can go out and hunt and just see the deer, and it's good enough. Being out in the wild, we saw all those nice longhorn sheep in Colorado with Robert when we were up there. Got pictures of them.
Cool.
It's wow.
Well, I like swimming. In the summertime, I used to really love lying in long grass and looking up at the sky and watching the clouds and just dreaming of the future.
That's fun.
Yeah, I used to really, really enjoy that. And we would swim and swim and swim until we got cold. And then we'd lay on hot rocks. We'd lay on the rocks. And that was really fun. And leisurely, I like canning. I like studying the scriptures. I really enjoy that. Especially now, I love listening to all the podcasts about with the Brigham Young professors that are ancient Bible scholars, and they talk about the scriptures and the prophets and how. And one of the things that I kind of came up with, well, let's say I may have misunderstood, but they were talking about Christ and his greatness and God the Father also, and how God the Father has created all these worlds without number, and he's done it through and by his only begotten. And they kind of implied that he was going to do this forever and ever. And even when we become gods. And I thought, and they said, his greatness is unlimited. And then I thought, he's a lot bigger than I thought he was. But whether that's true or not, I don't know. So I'm gonna have to study more
It has to be so.
and and ask. And I believe I'll get an answer whenever the Lord is ready. But I have to be searching. You have to be in that spirit of wanting to know. Like Abraham, he knew of the covenant, but it wasn't his covenant yet until he wrestled with the Lord or whatever he had to do. Yeah, he had to go pay his tithes to that other great priest, Melchizedek, in the city of Salem. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know all of it.
Before
but-
that.
Say that
Or
again.
go to the top of a mountain and
Oh,
look
yeah.
out. That's really neat.
And walking, don't you walk all the time
Yeah, but
too?
being at the top of the mountain is a whole lot better.
Way better.
It's not getting there. Like, I don't like that at all.
But once you're there.
Yeah, once I'm there.
I want.
I've
I
only
want
walked
to,
2 of them, so.
Mm.
Yeah, I want to go up there too one day.
Top of the Y or whatever.
Yeah, I want to walk to the
You-
Y.
You won't make it. I'm sorry. At age 15, it's not far enough back.
Bury my head and say goodbye.
Mm-hmm. There you head.
I was so naughty.
Oh.
Mm.
What would I say to myself at 15 and live?
It's right there at that age where you start getting some independence.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta
Yeah.
know what to do with it.
Or not believing.
Same.
I mean,
Same.
it was hard for me to believe that my mother loved me. You know, because I guess I found myself always in trouble and she was always pounding on me. And, you know, she would say things like, I whip you only because I love you. It's a lie to me at that age. But, you know, now that I'm a parent, I understand her and I love her for doing it, even though at the time I didn't appreciate it, I didn't love it. I guess that's, you know, that's one of the trials I had to go through was learning and trying to understand what love really was from different people.
We're the exact opposites. At that age of time, I knew my parents loved me. I appreciated them very much.
Well, I knew my dad loved me.
Mm.
And I knew them both. I could probably have said that I would go back a little bit farther, but maybe 15 is almost enough. 13 would be better. Just to apply myself harder. If you would just apply yourself just a little bit harder, you'd be much better off. You're gonna have to sacrifice, you know. Make some sacrifices of your time and just apply yourself. It's so much better. Yeah,
Okay.
my parents were kind to me. My older brother wasn't. But he learned. That's one thing I wanted to, I remembered from the sacrament meeting. I might as well just, Richard is 4 years older. Richard at, 14 was getting to the point where he was losing ground. But let's say 12, okay? He's taller, he's stronger, and when he says something, we have to listen. Because if not, we get smacked. And he physically showed it to us sometimes. When Richard went off to the university 4 years ahead of me,
Yeah.
Cool.
and so that he would be let's say he went off at 18, probably 17, but let's say 18. That would have made me 14.
Okay.
Glad to see him go. But after 1 year at Lewis and Clark and another year at BYU, he came back. It was a totally different guy. I mean, he was kind.
Mm.
He asked us what we'd like to do rather than just boss us around. He's totally different.
Is he still alive?
Probably
Yeah.
better physical
He's
shape than we are.
78. Okay, I think I have the talent of working hard. Well, I used to. I'm somewhat athletic, or used to be. Yes, I'm a very good ball handler. When I was young, I that was the one thing I wanted to have was a ball, and I don't remember being given a ball but I do remember having a little tennis ball, and I just bounced that thing and threw it and caught it and just enjoyed having a ball. Then one day it got lost, and I just was very, very upset. So I prayed, and I found it. Okay, I think I have a fairly good imagination. I'm observant, and by observing, I learned how to sew. I didn't take any classes. I just watched my sister. She was an excellent seamstress. And I watched my mother. And then when I had children, I just remembered the observations that I made, and I decided I'm going to learn how to sew, and I did. So, and I think at one time I had a voice and I could sing, and I didn't really realize I had a voice, like a good voice, until I was on my mission. That's all. Your turn.
Well, the only talent I figure that I really had was singing. I've been singing since primary. They'd had 4 of us boys up in sacrament meeting singing. We never liked it, but we did it. And then after we were married, I joined a lot of the choirs we were in. So I think I've been singing in choirs ever since, in every ward practically. And I'm tired of that, so I'm not singing this one. But it doesn't go much farther than that, so I'm not sure that was actually a talent, but nobody threw any rocks at me or anything, so it's been okay.
You're a good swimmer.
I can swim, but I'm not any more than average.
He's a very good swimmer. He tried teaching me, but there were some conflicts in teaching methods.
There was no humility to learn.
Anyway, so I
Yes,
decided I
yes.
would teach myself.
I can swim and I can ski. So as physical activities, those are pretty good.
Yeah.
No more than average, but pretty good. Can't golf with beans, and that's the only third one that I tried. Can't play baseball. I think I tried that once too. I tried basketball too, but they weren't very good. But I did try. So singing is the best one. I think Mom has missed one of her key talents, and I'm going to express it. She has a key talent of knowing how to please people. Okay? Or how to get along. Because when she came to the United States, she has no friends. But she made more friends than I've ever had in all my life in just a week or two. And she kept those friends for ages and ages and ages. So she makes great friends. She doesn't cook nearly bad either. I gained pretty good weight in my married
I
life.
didn't know how to cook.
She learned very fast.
I had to learn that from scratch. I could boil water.
Yeah, and make pancakes.
Oh yes,
With all
I
sorts
could
of
make
ingredients.
pancakes. And for 3 years, I got up and went swimming almost every day, and I swam a mile every about 3 or 4 times a week. I swam a mile.
To cap it all off, she did a triathlon.
Oh, a half a triathlon.
Boy, you don't have to memorize it.
Yeah.
It was big enough as it was.
I just did it once, and I was the last. But I did it.
You did it.
That's awesome. I
Swam.
didn't know that.
At least a mile, maybe 2.
No, it was
750 meters. Was it a sprint?
You had to go fast as you could, or you'd be left behind.
Yeah, it was in the lake.
The swim was the first, and then the bike ride, and then the run.
Yeah, and the bike ride was 12 miles.
East, up in the high country.
No, it was 26 miles.
There you go.
Yeah, it was 26
So
miles.
let's say 12 and a half both ways, each way.
And then the run was 12 and a half, but I walked most of it. I tried to trot, but oh, it was so hard.
She was the last one.
But you did it.
Everybody had gone home. That's all right. I was happy. I did it.
Baseball.
Softball. Well, it was fast pitch softball. And over here I learned slow pitch. The slow pitch, you have to ball, the ball is higher than 10 feet. Yeah, you have to get it higher than 10 feet, and it's not fast. So, yeah, and
Catch it on the down spot,
yes.
right across the
But,
plate.
you know, and I was a hitter. That was my strong point. I was a hitter, and I played first and second base. And sometimes I did field. But, you know, whenever a ball came my way, I caught it most of the time. I very seldom missed it. But, yeah, bands. I did that over here, too, while I was pregnant.
Wow.
They had
that fun.
Yeah, they had a sports day, and I said, oh, I need somebody to run for me because I was pregnant. But I said, I'll hit it. And so I think you ran for me. Or somebody ran for me. And then another time, someone hit it and I caught the ball. Everyone was surprised. This pregnant woman just went, caught the ball. Anyway.
Must be Navy days.
Yeah.
I didn't get the jobs I want. Definitely. I mean, first job we had, well, the first job I had, let's say right after high school, I'm still in high school, was working at the golf course. I loved it. And I made good inroads with the boss. And by the time we'd left there, we'd worked for him for 3 years, and he gave us a great farewell because we were heading on our mission. So we had a good friend there. Barry got a job back again with him when he returned. So we worked good, and we had to work alone most of the time. So it was a great job, just cutting grass, basically. Next, it's not a job that you can take as a career though. So the next job was the Navy. Well, between that and the mission, next job's the Navy. And the Navy and I didn't see eye to eye very well, but I kept my nose clean, didn't get into any trouble. And after graduating from electronics school, A and B, we went out to the fleet, but I didn't get a fleet job. It was a shore station, and mine was to take care of missiles. Okay, they'd come in from the fleet, and we'd have to make repairs, find out what was wrong, and repair them. I couldn't really do that. I'm not sure they even gave me a chance, but anyway, they did give me the battery locker. So the one component on the missile that actually have to be running is the battery. So that was my job. Tear it apart, put it all back together again, test it, make sure it goes. And I had that probably all the rest of my career. Then been there about 3 years worth.
Yeah.
Even aboard the ship, I had 2 battery lockers by myself, and ran it all myself. And then I trained somebody that was going to take my place. So
Was that on the Chicago?
Yeah. Yep. I had 2 battery stations there.
And what was the ship that you were going to go on?
It's only to Chicago.
to go, if you didn't quit, you were gonna go.
It's still in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
The Chicago was dry dock when we got on it, and it just took one test run, maybe a couple really little one-dayers out there, and then after that 1 week test trip, I think she was going to be sent off to the Pacific coast. I mean, the other side of the Pacific, and be gone for over 1.5 years, probably. And because it was about my time to get off, I really didn't want to extend and be gone from my family that long, so I said goodbye. And she told me she wanted me to stay in, and I said, nope, this is not the place I want to raise my children.
Why not? Just till we have this baby. I was pregnant, and
Because I'd be in the middle of the Pacific and couldn't get back.
yeah, but it wouldn't have cost $3,000.
Well,
Who
It
were
would
you
have been
pregnant
just
with?
$25,
Hmm.
for the baby. And I was thinking of the medical one. But
I was thinking about where my kids would be raised.
yeah, it took 6 years to pay for her.
That's all right. That's all right.
I just paid the hospital, like $25
On
or
her sixth birthday or
$20 or $10 a month, and they would send me bills. They would send, bills and just tell me that I needed to pay it ASAP, and they were going to send out
Collection agent.
collecting agencies. And I had a friend that worked for the hospital, and she was German, very, very smart lady, was Chris.
Yep.
And because we were foreigners,
I said, don't worry about it.
we confided in each other. And this one time I was just so frustrated and so sad. I called and cried on her shoulder, and she said, Marara, she said, don't listen to them, just tear it up. If you are sending them $5 a month, they cannot do anything to you. Just tear up the papers and just keep paying you $5, and so that's what I did. And we got through it. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not done.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm only in the Navy. We got back from the Navy and got a job in the lumber mill. And that was really my career. Working in wood, sawdust, pitching
Sweeping up.
sawdust all day, sweeping up, stacking lumber. But halfway through, I got a job as a grader, and that's where I think I really excelled. Had good money and good.
Good eyes.
What's the word I want to use though? We had a
Reflexes.
little bit of respect from the rest of the crew for being a grader. So I excelled there after coming home the second week, I think it was, and crying my heart out before I even walked in the house, asking the Lord for help. He granted that help almost immediately. So I'm not sure how fast I got around, but I qualified in less than a year. So I was happy with that. And from then it was all uphill. Easy going. And we got a job after they closed out, and got a job across the county in Prineville, and 2 jobs actually. So I was able to work another year in that. And then we were offered a job in New Zealand. So it made our whole experience possible. Best job we've ever had. Best conditions we've ever had. Even got another child in the process. So everything worked out beautifully.
Our little Michael.
Michael.
Yeah. Well, and then
I've seen my career really.
yeah. Well, you still had to work a little bit, so I took care of my dad, and he basically took care of Michael.
Yeah, I did get a job with Armor Guard, with an Armor Guard
Oh, yes.
outfit. And, well, that was just so we could stay until Michael had passed away.
Mm.
So that was just to take care of things, just bringing in enough money to survive on.
They paid you well,
Not really.
but you got to carry around millions of dollars.
Yeah, but it wasn't. None of it was mine.
But that just shows you had integrity and honesty.
You couldn't take it whether you wanted to or not. Not a penny of it.
Well, that's okay. Many tried.
Mm,
Some have
no,
tried.
No.
Oh, you were never.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought we
Nope.
heard about one Mulberry.
It wasn't to our group.
Oh, okay.
And she's right. I carried millions of dollars.
Man.
Yeah, from banks,
Yeah.
and then from other customers or businesses
Well, they,
to banks.
yeah, we'd pick up their cash from the local
Whatever.
merchants and take it to the bank, and then from the bank we'd take it to other banks. And, you know, that's the end of my career.
Okay.
Now we work in the temple.
Yes. My career. Oh, I had all kinds of jobs. You know, first of all, just jobs at home.
She got paid for cooking. Tell you how well she learned that one.
Yeah, but you know, when I was a kid, I had to feed the chickens and the pigs and, you know, feed all the animals, milk cows, separate the cream from the milk, and then
She was
have.
a farmer.
Yeah, I was a farmer's girl, and
Awesome.
the skim milk, you know, we had 2 different drums, and we just carried the milk down in buckets. It was skim milk because we'd already separated the cream from the milk, and that was done on a machine that I had to stir, you know, and you kind of have to have it at the right pace, or the cream would be too watery or too thick. You know, it had to be just right, just the right consistency though. So it took a lot of concentration. Anyway, and then we'd carry the skim milk to the drums, and it was only about
She didn't get fired either.
20 or maybe 30 feet away from the cow shed, and then I poured it into the drums, and we'd just use one drum, and the other drum, you know, it kind of sat for a day, and next day there'd be cottage cheese on top, you know, about this thick. Now I know it's cottage cheese. We just called it cheese for the pigs, and that's what we
waste.
and we fed the pigs with
What a
this
waste.
with this white cottage cheese is what it was, and they loved it, and of course we fed them with scraps of food from the house, or peelings or whatever we had, corn, just everything.
Rotten corn.
No, not rotten corn. We ate the rotten corn.
Yep.
And anyway, it was good. It was all good. But yeah, that's where I basically learned how to work. And then, of course, after going to school, and while I was in school, I wanted to become a teacher, a school teacher. You know, they had good careers. They got paid even during holidays. They got a paycheck, so you were paid all year. And so that's what my desire was. But I never passed. You had to go to teachers' college or training school. You had to pass school C, and I never did.
I got in the way.
I couldn't pass English. It was so hard. I passed everything else, but you have to pass English. And the last time that I took it, I took the test 3 times. How embarrassing! But no, 4 times. 3 times in high school, and then the 4th time I was a teacher's aide. But I got to do it correspondence, and that time I passed in English, but I still didn't have enough points. You had to have more than 200 points, and I didn't have 200, even though I passed every subject, but not enough. Anyway, so I went to the post office and applied for a job there, and I got the job. But before I did that but before I accepted that job, this school teacher who was a member of the church, he was the headmaster of a primary school, a primary school, and they didn't have more than like 70 children, and his wife needed a helper, and that's how I became a teacher's aide. And I wasn't certified or anything, but all I did was help, listen to them read, help with organizing, teaching them hapa hapa, whatever I knew. I could teach them a song and the actions and just different activities, and help them color and watch them play sports with them, just fun things. And that's when I got engaged. But
I got in the way.
yeah, but and and after that year, that's when I decided I better go back to the post office. But they didn't need me downstairs where you serve people with stamps and all these other things and banking money and so forth. So they sent me upstairs to the telephone exchange part, and that's where I got the job, just saying number please and plugging them into the number.
Hey girl.
Where I like a toll person.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I stayed there until I went on my mission, and I came back from my mission, got home Friday, and Monday I was back at work. Yeah, so that's basically what I did. Then I came to America. And the kind of work that I did with my dad too, like, we cleared land so I could chop wood and chop.
She thinks she could beat me chopping wood. She thinks she could beat me.
I can. It's okay though.
Starting a fire, she was probably better.
When he chops a tree, a piece of wood, he cuts it just like this with an axe. You don't do that. You do it with the grain, a slice. You have it slanted, so it just cuts through a lot easier. Anyway, that's what my dad taught me with slash hooks, and I didn't.
Oh, the different tree too.
I didn't use an axe. I used a slash. It's called a slash hook. And a lot of the slash hooks, they were either curved, like a sickle, or they were just a straight blade.
Softer.
But a much longer blade
Softer
than
tree.
the axe. And we dug drains,
Oh, I must have learned that one then too.
My sons and I dug the sewer, didn't we?
Yeah, I did too.
You started it off and
I
you said,
did
okay,
too.
straight down there and straight down there.
I did it too.
And I'll look at it when I get back, and if it's not right,
You'll do it again.
yes. So yeah, it was the boys and I that dig the sewer.
Not entirely.
Well, not entirely, but most of it. We did most of the hard work.
Thank you.
And then when I came to America, I got myself certified to be a nurse's aide, and that was I mean, in America, that was my career, and it really, I think it was my best career because I went to New Zealand and I just carried on with that, and then I bought this big house, or we bought the big house, and with 6 bedrooms, and I decided to give respite care to anyone that was disabled or had some kind of a disability, where they could come and get a rest at my house for $75 a day.
Probably had 3, didn't we?
And that's how we got Michael.
Anyway.
And that's how we got Michael, and then Michael became permanent. And then I had Jatel. She was, her parents were looking for a permanent place, and after a few interviews and so forth, I accepted her, and they accepted me. And then, what was that last girl's name?
Yeah, no.
Mary.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mary. She,
Yes, I remember.
yeah, she had Williams disease, and it's they're not able to communicate or speak very fluently, but they could make sounds and they could nod, but they know what's going on, and they like activities. They really like eating. And she liked helping to prepare the food as well. Yeah, we went on walks, and she became permanent, but then weekends, sometimes I'd have,
Respite care for yourself.
yeah, lots of people. And sometimes it would be the caregiver who just needed a break. And so she would just come and have a room to herself and have her own radio and stuff, and just either sleep in her own room, or she'd join us if she wanted to. She didn't have to, but yeah, just whatever a person needed, I would try to accommodate that. Fix the meals and let them watch TV if that's what they wanted to do. Have music. Did we have a piano?
No. Well,
Yeah,
yes,
we
we
did.
did actually. Yes, we did.
We did.
Didn't learn to use it, but
Yeah,
we did have one.
I couldn't play it, but we tried. And some of the clients just like making the noise, And that's where I made good money. And when he lost his job, I said, "Oh, it's okay. We'll be okay." I said, we make enough money, and we didn't really have a lot of bills, except that.
Yeah, I lost my job. New Zealand wood molding, who hired me from the States, and so I went to work for another outfit, which is an hour away from home. Worked for them for a year.
Yeah.
And then after that, I said, nope, can't work anymore.
And he came home and he said, I think maybe we should go and take care of your dad. Because my mother had passed, and they wanted to know if any of us, what did we think. And I didn't say anything. I wasn't going to offer because he wasn't with me. And we had to move from the South Island, and that was huge. But anyway, my brother said, "Well, what do you think?" Because he knew that I was a caregiver. And I said, "Well, one thing is absolutely certain." I said, "If any one of us is going to do it, they should be given a break." I said, either every 2 weeks they go away for the weekend, or somebody else comes in and takes care of my dad, because he had Alzheimer's and he was getting pretty bad. He would sing all night,
Or take long walks without telling us.
yeah, he would just disappear. And if I forgot to get the keys out of the car, he would just drive off. And he wrecked a couple of his own vehicles that way. And he was paying the insurance company for a lady who sued him because he caused an accident and he didn't have insurance. And anyway, she sued him, and so he was still paying for that, like $75 a month. So it was challenging. It was very challenging. Like, there were times when he'd come into our room and he thought I was my mother, you know, and he would just accuse me of being an adulteress and sleeping with,
What am I
you know,
doing there?
and who is this, you know, who is this man? And one time he was so mad he just threw all of my my jewelry and my nice things on my dresser. He just threw them all out the window, and he pulled the blankets off the bed and threw them out. You know, he said, he said, you're not allowed to be here anymore.
So from then on, when Dad came close, I would
And
just step
traveled
outside. I go follow him downtown. Took a half an hour to walk into town, it seemed like. And by the time he got there, he couldn't remember what he was doing. And so I just come up to him and say, "Can I help you, sir?"
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he'd come back with
Yeah,
Byron.
yeah, I know you live.
Yeah, and our neighbors were helpful too. You know, we had neighbors that knew him, and sometimes they knew that he would walk off, and
Yeah, they just come tell us.
yeah, they would either come tell us or they'd go and talk to him until he changed his mind and decided he'd come home.
Couldn't remember where home was.
Yeah. And we were in a ward, and so, you know, we did that, and we had callings. I was in the primary, and I was in the Relief Society presidency, and
I was in Young Men's, and they called me to a high councilman.
yeah. So we had jobs. We were busy. It was hard. I mean, it wasn't hard, but we were busy.
Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about my dad, and I'll start with his dad first. I don't know very much about my grandpa White. His name is Harry Glenn, and they both moved from Iowa. When, I'm not sure, but it's recorded, so if I wanted to look and find out exactly when it's there, but not why, or, you know. And so my dad and his family ended up in Twin Falls, Idaho, where Grandpa would be a gardener, not really a farmer, because he would tend other people's property, not his own necessarily, and a painter. And that's how he made his livelihood, a meager one. My dad would often say that when his birthday came along, he would get a pair of long underwear. That would be for one, and a candy bar for the other. So I guess birthday was the candy bar, and Christmas was Long John's. As long as he could remember. That was it. So that's a little bit about my dad. They lived in a log cabin, and it's still there in Twin Falls. We visited it many times. It's owned by somebody else now, I believe. But, anyway, my dad, at the age of 14, decided with a friend of his that they needn't be a burden to their family anymore, because it was the Depression, and life was pretty tough feeding a family, especially a family of 9. I think my dad's, is it 9 or 10?
10.
10. Plus mom and dad. It could be pretty hard to do. So dad decided he would take off, and his brother's name is Corky. His real name is Carl, I think the last name Weezer. I'm not sure about the last name now. Corky was an odd name for us to remember. But they would go out and caddy at golf courses to earn a living. And they traveled about the Twin Falls area, and then they expanded out. I think even they went as far as Boise. And then came back, and I think they ended up in Salt Lake City before they quit caddying and started work at a car hop, where the girls would ride on roller skates out to the cars and take orders. Dad, later on, after he got married, played golf avidly, twice a week probably, and he was a club champion 6 years running. Every year they held a tournament, and well, I think it was probably a kind of a like week, 2 week deal, because you would just match up with another player, kind of like they do in basketball, how other teams come together just like basketball. And so match play, which was hole for hole, not total score, just hole for hole, and that's what match play was all about. And Dad would win it 6 years.
But this was when you was old.
Yeah, I
after
said
you had grown up.
I said that. No, not before I'd grown up. During which
I was here when he was captain.
champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying, yeah. But before that, I mean, before I had finished growing up, he had actually won some tournaments before that.
Okay.
That's all I have to say. Okay, so that's my dad. He's an avid golfer. He could have turned pro if it weren't for his lousy putting. But your high blood pressure, hypertension.
Hypertension.
That's the one I'm thinking about. Hypertension, where you're getting over the ball and you have to be really steady, and he couldn't be all that steady. But he still won a lot of tournaments. That was my dad. A little history about my dad. He was a auto upholsterer, truck upholstery. He later developed into furniture, boat tops, anything he could put the cover on, he could do. And he had 3 different shops, one in California, when we moved from California, 2 in Bend, one at a time, obviously, but he would pay off one before getting the other one. He would always pay it off early and build again. He was quite frugal and a good business mind. And he loved to hunt and fish, and we would ski in the wintertime, which he would have no part of. But in the summer, yeah, Dad didn't even go camping. He didn't like camping, but he loved to hunt and fish. We got him a few times camping.
He took all the grandsons every year on a fishing trip in his boat.
Yeah.
So he did like Nick and Rob.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nick
Oh,
and
fun.
Rob and
David
Paul
and
and David and anyway, all the
Probably, yeah.
grandsons. Yeah.
That's all that would have been, those 4.
Mm.
That's it.